The employee's compensation component of the Code on Social Security 2020 focuses on providing financial support to employees or their dependents in cases of employment-related injuries, disablement, or death. This module covers the definitions, rights, and benefits associated with employee compensation. Employee. An employee is defined as any person who is hired to perform any work or service under a contract of employment. This includes regular, temporary, casual, and daily wage workers. The term also encompasses those employed through a contractor. Employer. An employer is any person, organization, or legal entity that employs one or more persons under a contract of employment. This includes government bodies, private companies, contractors, and any other entities that engage workers for their services. A dependent is defined as a family member of an employee who relies on the employee for financial support. Dependents typically include spouse, which means husband or wife, minor children, such as sons and daughters, unmarried daughters, irrespective of age, parents, if they were wholly or partially dependent on the employee's earnings at the time of death, and siblings, under certain conditions. Disablement refers to the physical or mental incapacity resulting from an employment-related injury or occupational disease which affects the employee's ability to earn wages. Types of disablement. First, we have total disablement. This is defined as a state where the employee is completely unable to earn any wages in the same or any other employment due to the injury. Now, within total disablement, we have permanent total disablement, which occurs when the injury permanently incapacitates the employee, leading to a lifetime inability to work. Then, there's temporary total disablement, which happens when the employee is temporarily unable to work due to the injury, but is expected to recover and return to work eventually. Next, we have partial disablement. This is defined as a state where the employee's ability to earn wages is reduced, but not completely eliminated due to the injury. Within partial disablement, we have permanent partial disablement, which occurs when the injury results in a permanent reduction in the earning capacity of the employee, though the employee can still work in a different capacity. Lastly, there's temporary partial disablement, which happens when the injury temporarily reduces the employee's earning capacity, but the employee is expected to recover and return to full earning capacity. Types of injuries leading to disablement. 1. Scheduled injuries. Injuries listed in the schedule of the Employees' Compensation Act, which specifies the percentage of loss of earning capacity associated with specific injuries. Examples include loss of limbs, eyesight, hearing, etc. 1. Non-scheduled injuries. Injuries not specifically listed in the schedule but assessed based on the impact on the employee's earning capacity. Requires medical assessment to determine the extent of disablement. Benefits and compensation. The Code on Social Security 2020 provides the following key benefits for employees and their dependents in cases of employment-related injuries. 1. Compensation for death. In the event of an employee's death due to an employment-related injury, the dependents are entitled to compensation. The amount of compensation is calculated based on the employee's monthly wage and age at the time of death. 1. Compensation for permanent total disablement. Employees suffering from permanent total disablement are entitled to compensation calculated based on their monthly wage and age. The compensation is intended to support the employee for life. 1. Compensation for permanent partial disablement. For permanent partial disablement, the compensation is determined by the percentage of loss of earning capacity as specified in the schedule. The amount is proportional to the extent of disablement. 1. Compensation for temporary disablement. In cases of temporary disablement, total or partial, employees are entitled to a monthly payment equivalent to a percentage of their wages. The compensation continues until the employee recovers or for a specified maximum period. 1. Medical expenses. Employers are required to provide medical treatment for injuries sustained by employees at work. This includes hospitalization, medicines, and other necessary medical services. 1. Rehabilitation allowance. Additional allowances for the rehabilitation of employees who suffer from permanent disablement. This may include vocational training and other support to help the employee reintegrate into the workforce. Employers' liability. Employers are liable to pay compensation for injuries arising out of and in the course of employment, except in cases where the injury is caused due to the employee's willful disobedience of safety rules. Due to the employee's deliberate self-injury or intoxication, employers must also ensure a safe working environment to minimize the risk of employment-related injuries. Dispute resolution. In case of disputes regarding the amount of compensation or eligibility, employees or their dependents can approach the Commissioner for Employees' Compensation. The Commissioner has the authority to adjudicate disputes and ensure that rightful compensation is provided. Employers' liability for compensation conditions and exceptions. The Code on Social Security, 2020 outlines the conditions under which an employer is liable to pay compensation for employment-related injuries, diseases or deaths, as well as exceptions to this liability. Understanding these provisions is crucial for both employers and employees to ensure compliance and protection under the law. Employers' liability for compensation conditions of liability. 1. Employment relationship. The injury or disease must have occurred during the course of employment. The employee must be engaged in work for the employer or performing duties as required by the employment contract. 2. Arising out of employment. The injury or disease must have arisen out of employment. This means that there must be a causal connection between the employment and the injury or disease. It must be proven that the injury occurred due to employment-related activities or conditions. 3. Occupational diseases. Employers are liable for occupational diseases contracted by employees due to the nature of their employment. Specific diseases are listed in the schedules of the Code, and if an employee contracts such a disease, it is presumed to have arisen out of employment unless proven otherwise. 4. Accidental injuries. Employers are liable for accidental injuries sustained by employees while performing their duties. This includes injuries caused by accidents on the premises or while performing tasks related to the job. 5. Death. If an employee dies as a result of an employment-related injury or occupational disease, the employer is liable to compensate the dependents of the deceased employee. 6. No-fault liability. The liability of the employer to pay compensation is based on a no-fault principle. This means that the employer is liable to pay compensation irrespective of any negligence or fault on their part. Calculation of compensation. Death. Compensation is calculated based on the employee's monthly wages and age, typically involving a fixed formula specified in the Code. Permanent total disablement. Compensation is calculated as a percentage of the employee's monthly wages, considering the extent of disablement and the age of the employee. Permanent partial disablement. Compensation is proportional to the percentage of loss of earning capacity specified in the schedule. Temporary disablement. Monthly payments are made to the employee during the period of disablement based on a percentage of their wages. Exceptions to employers' liability conditions. Exempting employers from liability. 1. Willful disobedience. If the injury or death was caused due to the employee's willful disobedience of explicit safety rules or regulations, the employer is not liable for compensation. The disobedience must be proven to be deliberate and willful. 1. Intoxication. Employers are not liable to pay compensation if the injury or death occurred due to the employee's intoxication by alcohol or drugs. It must be established that the intoxication was the proximate cause of the injury or death. 1. Deliberate self-injury. If the injury is self-inflicted or caused due to the employee's deliberate intent to harm themselves, the employer is not liable for compensation. This includes cases where the injury results from a deliberate act of the employee. 1. Non-employment-related activities. Employers are not liable for injuries or diseases that are not related to employment. If the injury occurs while the employee is not performing their work duties or is engaged in personal activities, the employer is exempt from liability. 1. Certain occupational diseases. For diseases that are not listed in the schedule or where the employee has been exposed to the risk of the disease outside of employment, the employer may not be liable. The burden of proof lies with the employer to establish that the disease was contracted outside of employment. Case laws and judicial interpretations. 1. Laxmibai, Atmaram v. Bombay Port Trust, 1954. The Supreme Court held that the employer is liable to pay compensation if the injury arises out of and in the course of employment, emphasizing the broad interpretation of in the course of employment. 1. McKinnon Mackenzie and Company Pvita Lutid v. Ibrahim Mahmud Isak, 1970. This case clarified that even if the accident occurs outside the workplace, if it is connected to employment duties, the employer is liable. The court emphasized the causal connection between employment and injury. 1. Pandurang v. New India Assurance Company Limited, 1989. The court ruled that employers are not liable for injuries caused by the employee's deliberate disobedience of safety rules, highlighting the exception to liability for willful misconduct. Social Security and Cess in respect of building and other construction workers. Building and other construction workers, BOCW, constitute a significant segment of the labor force in India, and ensuring their social security and welfare is paramount. The enactment of specific legislation and the imposition of a cess have been instrumental in addressing the needs of these workers. Let's delve into the details of Social Security and the cess framework for BOCW under Indian law. 1. Social Security for Building and Other Construction Workers Registration. BOCW are entitled to various social security benefits, including health insurance, maternity benefits, disability cover, and educational assistance for their children. State governments are responsible for registering BOCW and issuing identity cards to eligible workers. Welfare measures. The Building and Other Construction Workers Welfare Boards have been established at both state and national levels to implement welfare schemes and provide benefits to registered workers. Welfare measures may include housing assistance, skill development programs, financial assistance during periods of unemployment, and assistance for children's education. Health and safety, ensuring safe working conditions, provision of protective gear, and access to healthcare facilities are integral aspects of Social Security for BOCW. Regular inspections and enforcement of safety regulations at construction sites are undertaken to mitigate risks and accidents. 2. Cess in respect of building and other construction workers. Cess imposition. The Building and Other Construction Workers Welfare Cess Act, 1996, mandates the imposition of a cess on the cost of construction incurred by employers. The cess is collected by state governments and deposited into the Building and Other Construction Workers Welfare Fund. Purpose of cess. The cess collected is utilized to fund welfare schemes and provide social security benefits to BOCW. It ensures that resources are available for implementing welfare measures and supporting the well-being of construction workers. Utilization of funds. Funds from the cess are utilized for various purposes, including the provision of healthcare facilities, education assistance, skill development programs, housing projects, and financial support during periods of unemployment or disability. Monitoring and auditing. There are mechanisms in place to monitor the collection and utilization of cess funds to ensure transparency and accountability. Auditing of accounts related to the Building and Other Construction Workers Welfare Fund is conducted to assess the effective utilization of resources. Empowering workers. The imposition of cess and the utilization of funds for welfare activities empower BOCW by providing them with access to essential services, improving their quality of life, and addressing their socio-economic needs. Impact and challenges. Positive impact. The imposition of cess and the implementation of welfare schemes have positively impacted the lives of BOCW by providing them with social security benefits and improving their standard of living. It has enhanced awareness about labor rights and contributed to the overall welfare of construction workers and their families. Challenges. Despite the welfare measures and cess collection, challenges such as irregularities in cess collection, delayed disbursement of benefits, and inadequate coverage of all BOCW remain areas of concern. Addressing these challenges requires concerted efforts from government agencies, employers, trade unions, and civil society organizations to ensure effective implementation and coverage of social security measures. Social security for unorganized workers, gig workers, and platform workers. The landscape of employment has evolved significantly, with a growing number of workers engaged in unorganized sectors, gig work, and platform-based employment. Ensuring their social security and welfare has become a pressing concern, leading to legislative and policy measures to address their unique needs. Let's explore the concept of social security for unorganized workers, gig workers, and platform workers in detail. 1. Social security for unorganized workers. Definition of unorganized workers. Unorganized workers include those engaged in various occupations, such as agriculture, construction, domestic work, street vending, and small-scale industries. They often lack job security, access to formal employment contracts, and social security benefits. Key social security measures. Registration and identification. State governments undertake registration and issuance of identity cards to unorganized workers to facilitate access to social security benefits. Health insurance. Schemes providing health insurance coverage for medical expenses and hospitalization. Pension and Provident Fund. Initiatives to create pension and provident fund schemes for unorganized workers to ensure financial security in old age. Skill development. Training programs and skill development initiatives to enhance employability and income generation opportunities. Challenges. Informal nature of employment, lack of documentation, and difficulty in accessing formal social security schemes pose challenges in implementing effective social security measures for unorganized workers. 2. Social security for gig workers. Definition of gig workers. Gig workers are individuals engaged in short-term, freelance or project-based work through digital platforms or apps. They often work on a flexible schedule and may perform multiple tasks for different clients or companies. Key social security measures. Health and accident insurance. Platforms and employers may offer health insurance and accident coverage to gig workers as part of their engagement. Income stability. Initiatives to promote fair wages, timely payments, and income stability for gig workers. Skill enhancement. Training programs and skill development initiatives to enhance gig workers' skills and employability. Challenges. Lack of formal employment status, inconsistent income, and limited access to traditional social security benefits, such as Provident Fund or pension schemes, are key challenges faced by gig workers. 3. Social security for platform workers. Definition of platform workers. Platform workers are individuals who provide services or perform tasks through digital platforms or online marketplaces. They may include drivers, delivery personnel, freelancers, and other service providers engaged through platform-based employment. Key social security measures. Occupational safety. Ensuring occupational safety and health standards for platform workers, including access to protective gear and training. Insurance coverage. Providing insurance coverage for accidents, injuries, and health-related issues. Fair working conditions. Promoting fair working conditions, minimum wages, and grievance redressal mechanisms for platform workers. Challenges. Challenges faced by platform workers include issues related to job security, income volatility, lack of social security benefits, and limited access to formal employment rights. Authorities, assessment, compliance, and recovery. Effective management and administration are crucial for the successful implementation of social security programs. This involves the establishment of competent authorities, assessment of contributions, ensuring compliance with regulations, and mechanisms for recovery in case of non-compliance. Let's delve into these aspects in detail. 1. Authorities in social security systems. Government agencies. Central and state governments typically establish specialized agencies or departments responsible for administering social security programs. These agencies may include the Ministry of Labor and Employment, social security boards, and other relevant authorities at the regional or local levels. Regulatory bodies. Regulatory bodies are tasked with formulating policies, issuing guidelines, and overseeing the implementation of social security schemes. They ensure adherence to legal provisions, monitor fund utilization, and protect the rights of beneficiaries. Social Security Boards. Social Security Boards are often constituted to manage specific social security programs such as provident funds, pension schemes, health insurance, and disability benefits. These boards play a crucial role in fund management, benefit disbursement, and addressing grievances of beneficiaries. 2. Assessment of contributions from employers and employees. Social Security contributions are typically based on a percentage of wages or earnings, with both employers and employees making contributions. Contributions may vary depending on the specific Social Security scheme, such as provident funds, pension schemes, or health insurance. Assessment process. Employers are responsible for deducting contributions from employees' salaries or wages and remitting them to the designated Social Security authorities. The assessment process involves verifying the accuracy of contributions, ensuring compliance with contribution rates, and maintaining records of contributions made by employers and employees. 3. Compliance with regulations. Legal framework. Social Security systems operate within a legal framework that defines contribution rates, eligibility criteria, benefit structures, and procedural requirements. Employers and employees are required to comply with these regulations to ensure the smooth functioning of Social Security programs. Monitoring and enforcement. Monitoring mechanisms are in place to track compliance with Social Security regulations, including regular audits, inspections, and assessments of contributions. Non-compliance may result in penalties, fines, or legal action to ensure adherence to regulatory requirements. 4. Recovery mechanisms. Recovery of arrears. In cases of non-payment or underpayment of Social Security contributions, authorities have the right to recover arrears from defaulting employers or individuals. Recovery mechanisms may include penalties, interest charges on overdue payments, and legal proceedings to recover outstanding amounts. Grievance redressal. Social Security systems often have grievance redressal mechanisms to address complaints, disputes, or concerns related to contributions, benefits, or eligibility. Beneficiaries and stakeholders can file grievances with designated authorities for resolution and remedy. Offences and penalties play a crucial role in maintaining the integrity and effectiveness of Social Security systems. These provisions are designed to deter fraudulent activities, non-compliance with regulations, and misuse of Social Security funds. Let's explore the common offences and penalties associated with Social Security schemes. 1. Offences related to Social Security. A. Non-payment of contributions offence. Failure by employers or individuals to make timely and accurate contributions to Social Security schemes as mandated by law. Penalties. Fines. Defaulting entities may be subjected to monetary penalties based on the amount of contributions owed and the duration of non-payment. Interest charges. Additional interest may be levied on overdue contributions to compensate for delayed payments. Legal action. Non-compliance may lead to legal proceedings, court orders, and enforcement measures to recover outstanding contributions. B. Fraudulent claims or misuse of benefits. Offense. Making false claims, providing misleading information, or engaging in fraudulent activities to obtain Social Security benefits unlawfully. Penalties. Criminal charges. Offenders may face criminal prosecution, imprisonment, and fines for fraudulent activities related to Social Security benefits. Repayment. Individuals found guilty of fraud may be required to repay wrongfully obtained benefits, along with penalties and interest charges. Non-compliance with reporting and documentation offense. Failure to submit accurate reports, maintain proper records, and comply with documentation requirements under Social Security regulations. Penalties. Compliance orders. Authorities may issue compliance orders, requiring offenders to rectify reporting errors, submit missing documentation, and comply with regulatory requirements. Administrative penalties. Non-compliance may result in administrative penalties, warnings, or sanctions imposed by regulatory bodies. 2. Penalties framework. A. Administrative penalties. Nature. Non-criminal penalties imposed administratively by Social Security authorities or regulatory bodies for minor violations, reporting errors, or procedural non-compliance. Examples: warning letters, fines, suspension of benefits or privileges, temporary bans on participation in social security programs. Civil penalties. Nature. Monetary penalties imposed through civil proceedings or administrative processes for more serious violations, non-payment of contributions, or fraudulent activities. Examples: monetary fines, restitution orders, recovery of damages or losses incurred due to non-compliance. C. Criminal penalties. Nature. Legal actions and penalties pursued through criminal courts for severe offences, fraud, embezzlement, or deliberate violation of social security laws. Examples: imprisonment, heavy fines, asset seizure, criminal records, and disqualification from participating in social security programs. 3. Enforcement and compliance measures. A. Monitoring and auditing role. Regular monitoring, audits, and inspections conducted by social security authorities to assess compliance, detect violations, and ensure transparency in fund utilization. Education and awareness role. Outreach programs, training sessions, and educational campaigns aimed at increasing awareness about social security laws, rights, responsibilities, and consequences of non-compliance. Grievance redressal mechanisms. Role. Establishment of grievance redressal mechanisms for beneficiaries, stakeholders, and the public to report violations, seek assistance, and address concerns related to social security schemes. Employment information and monitoring are crucial aspects of managing labor markets, ensuring compliance with labor laws, and promoting fair employment practices. This involves collecting, analyzing, and utilizing data related to employment, wages, working conditions, and labor market trends. Let's delve into the importance, methods, and challenges of employment information and monitoring. Importance of employment information and monitoring. 1. Policy formulation. Employment data helps policymakers and government agencies formulate and evaluate labor market policies, including minimum wage laws, working hours regulations, and employment standards. 2. Labor market analysis. Monitoring employment trends, job creation, and unemployment rates provides insights into the overall health of the labor market, sectoral employment patterns, and skill requirements. 3. Compliance monitoring. Monitoring employment practices helps ensure compliance with labor laws, including fair wages, non-discrimination, occupational safety, and working conditions. 4. Social security and benefits. Employment data is crucial for administering social security programs, calculating benefits, and addressing issues related to pension schemes, healthcare, and unemployment insurance. Methods of employment information and monitoring. 5. Surveys and census. Conducting labor force surveys, employment censuses, and household surveys to collect data on employment status, occupations, industries, wages, and working conditions. 6. Administrative records. Utilizing administrative records from government agencies, employers, and social security systems to track employment trends, wage payments, tax contributions, and compliance with labor regulations. 7. Labor market indicators. Monitoring key labor market indicators such as unemployment rates, labor force participation rates, job vacancies, and job turnover to assess labor market dynamics. 8. Workplace inspections. Conducting inspections and audits of workplaces to ensure compliance with labor laws, occupational health and safety standards, and fair employment practices. Challenges in employment information and monitoring. 1. Data quality. Ensuring the accuracy, reliability, and completeness of employment data can be challenging due to issues such as underreporting, informal employment, and data collection methods. 2. Informal sector. Monitoring employment in the informal sector, including self-employment, small businesses, and informal workers, poses challenges due to the lack of formal records and regulatory oversight. 3. Technological integration. Leveraging technology for data collection, analysis, and reporting requires investments in digital infrastructure, data systems, and capacity building for data management. 4. Privacy and confidentiality. Balancing the need for employment information with privacy rights and confidentiality. Concerns of individuals and businesses requires robust data protection measures and ethical standards. Role of government and stakeholders. 5. Data collection agencies. Government agencies, statistical offices, and labor ministries play a key role in collecting, analyzing, and disseminating employment information to policymakers, researchers, and the public. 6. Employers and trade unions. Employers' organizations and trade unions contribute to employment monitoring through data reporting, collective bargaining agreements, workplace inspections, and advocacy for fair labor practices. 7. International cooperation. Collaboration with international organizations, such as the International Labour Organization, ILO, facilitates data exchange, best practices sharing, and global standards for employment information and monitoring.